97.9.
Hey, it's Joel Hoekstra from Trans-Siberian Orchestra calling.
Hey, Joel, how you been, man?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing really good. I have seen you perform with Night Ranger, Whitesnake, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and I so look forward to seeing you again with TSO when you guys come to GR in December on the 26th, man.
I mean, can you believe it? Day after Christmas. Come on, that's incredible.
I know, we really lucked out on this one, man. I'm real stoked about the show for sure. Now, you've performed with the band since about 2010. This is a big gig. How'd you wind up with this gig?
Alex Skolnick, who'd played guitar with the band for quite some time, needed to take a year off to tour with his jazz trio, and I had a couple friends in the band throw my name in and say, this is somebody you guys should take a look at. And for as big as TSO is and as many people as there are, it was just like anything else. I went in and auditioned. I auditioned for Al Petrelli, our music director, and then once that went well, I got an audition with Paul O'Neill, the late, great Paul O'Neill, our founder, creator. And that went well, and I was offered the job.
Now, I've seen TSO at least a half a dozen times throughout the years, and one thing I noticed is everyone in the band is smiling and no one phones it in. What is it like in the TSO camp?
It's a tremendous pool of talent, and I think everybody understands how special Trans-Siberian is. I mean, it's a very special opportunity to play great music with people that you enjoy. Everybody there is a consummate professional. We don't take it for granted at all. And we've got this amazing tradition that, we've become part of American culture, essentially, for Christmas time. It's staggering. And we've played to 18 million people since we started touring and sold 12 million CDs and have 750 million audio video streams. I mean, to be a part of something like that that's become ingrained in the culture as far as the holiday season goes. It's really special. I feel honored to be a part of it, man, honestly, and all that talent that to be on stage with, it's incredible.
And speaking of all that talent, how many members total are there in TSO?
So I think we have on our side, I want to say we got about 15 people, 16 people. And of course, we have a West band and an East band to maximize the amount of shows that can occur around the holidays. Nobody wants to come see a Christmas show August 12th. You know what I mean? So
Right.
we basically, to cover all the territories of the United States, we have a West band and an East band. And so you're seeing the East band in Grand Rapids. But, between the two, I guess we're talking roughly 40 people.
That's a lot when they start making those calls to ramp up everybody for the next season, isn't it?
It sure is. And, we have backup musicians as well in case there's anything that happens on the road. And so they're kind of contracted to stay on top of the material at home. And so when you include them in our family, which they really are part of our family, we see them during rehearsals and we're all part of putting the show together. So if you include them, you're talking an even larger number.
For those tuning in, I'm chatting with Trans-Siberian Orchestra guitarist Joel Hoekstra. TSO tickets are going to be on sale today. Performances at Van Andel Arena. There's two, December 26th. Now, the tour is called The Ghost of Christmas Eve, the best of TSO and more. How long does it take to put a production like this together, from when they make those calls to pre-production, the set, staging, light, visuals, rehearsals, before that very first TSO show hits?
I think, as far as production, the last note of the tour is still hanging in the air. And when they're saying, what are we going to do next year? I mean, that's like a 365-day a year job where they're talking about putting that stage together and what's going to happen. As far as the musicians go, we usually get the songs mid-September, something like that. And there's usually more material on there that they want us to play than is actually going to make the set list. And we don't necessarily have a running order. Just be a list of songs that they want us to be on top of. And we often play, a lot of it just so they can get a look at it with production, and everybody kind of debates about, what order should it be and what song should be in or out. And eventually that decision gets made, usually a few days before we actually play the first show. We know the set. And then we get out there and let it rip.
You were talking about the East and West Coast versions of TSO, 104 concerts, 62 cities in 46 days. That is pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, I call it the Marines of rock. It's like you're definitely going to be challenged physically and mentally. So it's really important just to kind of take care of yourself and rest when you can. It's not your typical rock and roll tour where you say, hey, great gig. Now let's drink a bunch of beer. I mean, we're basically all taking care of ourselves and getting in our bunks and going, hey, next city, we got 2 shows tomorrow. Everybody get some sleep. Let's take care of ourselves. It's a great thing, though, because once you get used to that workload of 8 shows a week, when you head out, say when I tour with Whitesnake, if I'm playing 3-4 shows a week, that feels incredibly light to me. I feel like, man, you mean I get 3 days off this week, you know?
Well, didn't you one time, you were a night ranger and you actually filled in for Mick Jones for Foreigner and you were doing double duty, so it's not really a new thing for you.
No, I mean, I'm always a hard worker, and I kind of think that's good on multiple fronts because I think, you know, you want to obviously make a living and maximize your opportunities in life. You know, we only get one as far as we know to have a go at something special like this. You know, for me, I feel really lucky. I picked up a guitar at 11 years old, and I kind of look at that as the last career decision I ever really had to make in terms of what I was going to do with my life, you know, and so I try not to take that for granted and work hard at every turn. You know, anything that comes my way, I try and do my best because sometimes weird things happen, you know, that you don't see coming. Like when I was working on all the hard rock stuff when I was a kid, I never thought I would have played with Cher, but I ended up doing it for a few years, and that's something that kind of comes out of left field, and you go, well, that ended up being a really cool life experience. I don't know that when the 11-year-old me would have thought that was cool, but the guy, the 40-something-year-old, thought that was great. You know, there's also, you know, Broadway is another great example for me. You know, that I never. When I picked up a guitar, I wasn't thinking someday I'm going to be on Broadway, but you know, being a part of the show Rock of Ages for over 6 years on Broadway, that's stuff that comes out of left field that changes your life for the better. So I think it's important. It's an important lesson for anybody that hard work pays off. You know, you just try to do the right thing and work hard. And so TSO really reinforces that, and it shows, you know, in the product. I mean, the quality of show that Trans-Siberian is, just in terms of what we pull off with, you know, those that haven't seen it, there's a video screen, the width of the arena. You got a Pink Floyd laser light show that's synced to us playing, and pyrotechnics going off. That we're often on hydraulic lifts out over the crowd playing, going through the audience. You know, it snows indoors. There's just, you know, it's a visual spectacular, and you know, that's a big part of why TSO is what it is. I mean, obviously, musically, we do our jobs and we play the music to the best of our abilities. But the production is just insane, man. I mean, it's really amazing to be a part of as a musician, to stand on that stage and see all that happening around you and go, I can't believe I'm lucky enough to be here.
You know, I grew up being a Kiss fan, and I remember the first time seeing TSO, I'm going, somebody might want to tell Gene Simmons they might have to step up their game. You guys use the whole arena.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I mean, that was, you know, Paul O'Neill, our founder creator. His vision was always bigger and better every year. So we do try to outdo ourselves every year with the production. And that's why I said that job is really 365 days, because they got to scratch their heads a lot and go, how are we going to do something cool, something new, something different, something bigger, something better? Because Paul wouldn't have settled for any less.
Any little secrets you can lay out there without giving the whole thing away?
You know, I'm not necessarily privy to like the production details until we're at rehearsals. Now, our rehearsals, I could have accurately answered your question better, I guess, in terms of our time together, because I travel to rehearsals October 30. So we usually have a little over 2 weeks together of putting the show together and having production rehearsals before heading out for the tour itself. But, you know, we also are big believers in preparing on our own before we get to rehearsals. So I'm usually running that music for a good few weeks before I even get to rehearsal. I can't really put into words the feeling it is to be a part of TSO, having the tradition that's there, the level of talent. It's one of a kind. It's like when Paul O'Neill sat down and put this together, I'm sure when he put it on paper, there was probably a lot of people that looked at him and thought, man, you're crazy if you think that's going to fill an arena. And here we are filling arenas multiple times a day. You know, we'll play often for 25,000 people in a day and get on the bus at the end of the day. And I mean, how can you now feel lucky? You know, I mean, most of us would feel lucky to have one decent gig in our life, you know, and to get to do that every holiday season has been really something special for me.
Well, you know, you guys have a ton of music to pull from, but how do you guys discuss adding new music or any new material? Is there anything in the works?
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some deep cuts this year because, you know, the story on the front half is something we've done. So the front half is essentially a rock opera, if you will, right? There's a story that goes with the music. And for those that haven't seen TSO, The Ghost of Christmas Eve is essentially a best of, or a greatest hits, if you will. So good year if you haven't seen TSO to come check us out, because you'll hear all the music that put us on the map and made us who we are today. But the back half is a little bit more of a free-for-all rock concert that focuses on that giant production I was talking about. So that's where we're going to pull out some deep cuts this year and some stuff for the diehards that are going to be like, man, they haven't played that song in a long time, and give them something to be excited about.
Real quick, I know you guys are a very generous group of people, and you donate to charities, and your team has chosen our morning show, the Free Beer and Hot Wings charity. It's called Idiots for Underdogs. They help families in need, people who are struggling, medical help, and they also provide Christmases for people who normally wouldn't have a Christmas. So on behalf of that show and this radio station, I just want to say thanks, man.
Hey, that all really goes to the O'Neill family and continuing on what Paul's vision was for this. So, that was right out of the gate, having $1 from every ticket sold go to a local charity. And over the years, that's amounted to over $18 million now. So, I mean, that's a nice feather in our cap. And I think it really just fits right in with the Christmas spirit, doing a show in the holiday season, that spirit of giving. And Paul was an incredibly generous human being. And so big thanks to Paul and the O'Neill family for continuing that.
Well, I really appreciate the time, Joel. I know you got a lot going on. TSO is going to be here. Two shows, December 26th. I got one more quick question for you from my guitar buddy, Greg. I told him I was going to be chatting with you today, so he asked me to ask you, will there ever be another Hoekstra 13 record with Russell Allen?
Oh, I'm not sure. I mean, I think this last one, Crash of Life, it just felt like it was time to try this new singer, Girish Pradhan, who's amazing and from India. Russell sang on the first two, Dying to Live and Running Games. But, you never know, man. Russ is a dear friend. We talk definitely between working with each other in Trans-Siberian as well. So you never know. He's definitely an amazing singer. He's one of my faves.
Well, Joel, one of my favorite things about you is your positive attitude. I have never seen you not smile on stage. I look forward to seeing you December 26th.
Can't wait to see you guys. Van Andel's going to be rocking.